If I could only travel to one place in the galaxy, it would be Coruscant. It's a true Xenopixel, a worldwide city completely covered in layers upon layers of duracrete and diverse life forms. At its deepest spots, you can reach down for more than 5,127 levels. Along the way to the bottom, you can spy and smell the odors and cooking of countless alien species and cultures. It's easy to get lost and overwhelmed in such a massive and mixed up place. But in a way, Coruscant was a reflection of the galaxy itself, in all of its variety and wonder, which is why it was undoubtedly the most important world in the Star Wars galaxy.
Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan.
Throughout history, no legitimate government could claim dominance over the galaxy without having control over Coruscant. While some pretenders to the throne like the New Republic or First Order attempted alternatives, both organizations were lost without the true center of the galaxy. But one cannot take Coruscant through sheer military might. Many have tried and, as a result, left their broken armies scattered across the various levels of the planet, and the skeletons of their ships floating in orbit. The reality is, no one has ever truly tamed this entire planet.
The best any government or ruler could expect from this massive planet was for the trillions of beings that lived there to simply tolerate their presence. Over the course of Star Wars history, there have been dozens of major battles and even more skirmishes fought on Coruscant. Today we're going to talk about 5 of the major battles of Coruscant that shook the foundations of the planet. Every story has its beginning, and Coruscant begins at around 200,000 BBY, back when the planet was simply known as Notron, and its surface was naked and exposed with no duracrete buildings in sight. The galaxy was far from united back then, and the planet of Notron itself was a place of great destruction and warfare. You had 2 primary species living on the planet, the gray-skinned warrior species known as the Twang, and the far more numerous and industrious Xel, precursors to the mighty human race. The Twang and the 13 nations of Xel would fight each other in skirmishes for hundreds of years until a great Twang general named the Doom of Ulamara successfully seized Great Xel, the capital of the Xel people. But the Twang victory was short-lived. Soon the battalions of Xel would besiege their own capital and surround the Twang inside. But before they were able to take the city and slaughter the Twang, a massive volcanic eruption occurred, destroying large portions of the Xel army and covering the earth in ash for 2 entire years. The Xel would be subjugated during this time period, but eventually, using their greater numbers, they would win back control of the planet and eventually drive the Twangs off-world. And thus began the history of the planet that we all now know as Coruscant. And as some of you probably already know, the Twang would escape to the Outer Rim, where they would eventually settle on a world which would eventually be called Mandalore. For the Twang would also have an important legacy as the progenitors of the Mandalorian race. Before we continue, a word from our sponsor for today's video, Ownasaber.com, the premier place in the galaxy to get a lightsaber legally and not from some post-Order 66 battlefield. Now, of course, this is a completely judgment-free zone, but might I politely remind you that a good portion of Jedi turn into Force ghosts, and so looting their bodies might not be a great idea. Anyway, for the month of May, Ownasaber.com is giving away 4 lightsabers for free. This will happen on May 12th at an unspecified time. They'll be releasing 100% off discount codes, 2 on their YouTube channel and 2 on their Instagram. They'll be giving away 2 Dueling Sabers and also 2 Xenopixel Sabers. If you guys want to check this out, look in the description below and subscribe to their YouTube and Instagram. And tune in May 12th to those channels for the surprise announcement of those codes. Also, all of their Xenopixel premium blades, like the First Dawn, which is a replica of Kenobi's first blade, will be available for 30% off. Thank you for your patience, and on to the rest of the video. From 7,000 BBY to 6,900 BBY, a period known as the 100-Year Darkness occurred. It was an extremely violent and bloody period in galactic history, a result of what would be known as the Second Great Schism of the Jedi Order. A group of dark Jedi split from the Order and, using ancient dark side methods and Sith alchemy, created a monstrous army that engulfed the Republic in chaos. The Dark Jedi were soundly defeated, but unlike the First Great Schism, they were not completely destroyed. Instead, they were sent to Korriban in exile, but they wouldn't fade away in obscurity. The Dark Jedi would become worshipped by the local Sith aliens, and slowly they would become lords of a new nation and a new empire, hidden on the edges of the Outer Rim. For 2,000 years, the Sith would secretly gather resources, power, and strength, and then finally in 5000 BBY, they would launch their surprise attack on the rest of the galaxy. The young Jedi Odan had received visions of this impending invasion through the Force, and so a portion of the Jedi Order were actually prepared for this conflict. Unfortunately, the Republic Senate did not believe the visions of some random Jedi. The Sith Empire would be led by Naga Shadow, a skilled Sith alchemist and a master of illusion. His most prized weapon was his Sith meditation sphere. From inside, he can control his fleet and army from several systems away, and also create projections that were so real that they could even cause damage. The Sith attack on the Republic happened all at once. The Republic ships in orbit over Coruscant were immediately overwhelmed by the Sith Armada, which was made of both real and phantom ships. Soon the Sith and their very real dropships had passed through the Coruscant orbital defenses and began raining down troop pods all over the city. The Sith ground invasion was comprised of vicious Massassi warriors, a subspecies of the Sith alien race that were known for their strength and brutality. The Sith also used large war beasts known as behemoths, which carried troops and large mounted weapons into battle. Initially, the Republic forces were scattered and quickly routed, but the Jedi made a stand and rallied the military in front of the Senate Hall. Their courage inspired all those around them. But then for a moment, Naga Shadow stumbled, and his Sith meditation also was interrupted, and so a large portion of the Sith army simply disappeared. You see, from the very beginning, Naga Shadow's attack on the Republic was a risky gamble. His forces were actually much smaller than the Republic's. His success relied on the unprepared state of the galaxy and the illusions he had created, along with a very surgical and fast strike against the heart of the Republic. But this all fell apart, and so despite heavy losses, the Jedi and the Republic mounted a counterattack and began turning the tide against the Sith army. Eventually, they were repelled from Coruscant, and the Sith would flee back to Korriban, thus ending the war. As a result of their heroism, the Jedi Order was granted a large plot of land on Coruscant in hopes that they would stay and build a temple here and protect Coruscant and the Republic for the rest of eternity. The Great Hyperspace War was only the beginning of this larger struggle between the Sith and the Jedi-backed Republic. In 3653, the Great Galactic War would erupt. First, the Sith appeared on the edges of the galaxy, over their ancestral world of Korriban. And then they would invade Alderaan and set the beautiful forest there aflame with blaster fire and turbo lasers. The Republic, as usual, were completely unprepared for this battle, and the Sith were gaining ground across all fronts. And so it came as a shock to everyone when the Sith offered the Republic an opportunity to sit down in Alderaan for peace talks. While the Republic was engaged in a ceasefire, the Sith would launch a sneak attack on Coruscant. The Sith Lord Darth Malgus would lead a daring assault on the Jedi Temple itself, and he would successfully kill all of the Jedi defenders there, including the legendary Jedi Master Venzala. Shortly after, Sith forces would take over the entire capital district of Coruscant, and the Jedi Temple would lay in ruins. Meanwhile, on Alderaan at the Peace Summit, the Republic had no choice but to capitulate to the demands of the Sith and sign the controversial Treaty of Coruscant. In return for withdrawing from Coruscant, a planet that the Sith could never possibly hold, the Sith were actually allowed to hold on to all of the planets they had gained in this early offensive throughout the war. The Galactic Republic was forced to abandon these worlds that the Sith realistically could not have held on to, and the war continued. Because as we've mentioned in previous videos, all the Galactic Republic ever needed was enough time for them to build up their military forces and use their massive economic and manpower advantage to win the war. The Battle of Coruscant, like most battles in the Clone Wars, was planned in secret before the battle actually started by the two main heads of states of the Republic and the Confederacy of Invented Systems. Republic's Supreme Chancellor Palpatine and Confederate leader Count Dooku were working together as Sith Master and Apprentice. Chancellor Palpatine actually gifts Count Dooku a secret hyperspace lane that bypasses all of the Republic defenses and goes straight to Coruscant. Now, at the time, Republic forces were on the verge of victory against the CIS. Their top Jedi generals and clone legions were deployed in the Outer Rim sieges, deep in Separatist territory. And so Coruscant was completely unprepared when more than 1,000 Confederate ships appeared in orbit. To make matters worse, the Coruscant Home Defense Fleet, which you would think would be made up of elite units because of the importance of their posting, behaved more like a reservist unit because they lacked actual combat experience. The Republic immediately started taking heavy losses, and to make matters even worse, many of these damaged ships from both sides started crashing into the Coruscant Xenopixels. While some were stopped by emergency services, many others were not, and they would come crashing down, destroying entire neighborhoods, killing millions upon millions of people. Maybe. General Grievous manages to slip through Coruscant's defenses during this chaotic orbital battle and makes it to Chancellor Palpatine's office, where he's able to defeat Palpatine's bodyguard detachment, which also includes a few Jedi in it. With Palpatine in his custody, Grievous returns to orbit and boards his command ship, the Invisible Hand. He actually has an opportunity to jump out of the system and force the Republic to come to the negotiation table with a very, very strong bargaining chip. But instead, Count Dooku orders Grievous to engage the Republic Defense Fleet in close quarter battle. At the same time, the mighty Open Circle Fleet enters the system to reinforce the Republic, effectively cutting off the Separatist escape. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker manage to rescue Chancellor Palpatine, and as a result, the Separatist fleet is trapped and suffers massive losses. By the end of the battle, Count Dooku no longer has a head, and the Confederate Navy has lost up to a third of their entire power. In Legends, in 27 ABY, the Yuuzhan Vong invasion reaches Coruscant. These terrifying extragalactic alien invaders are completely ruthless and determined to not only take over the planet, but eventually terraform it and turn it into a copy of their own lost homeworld, Yuuzhan Tar. The Yuuzhan Vong invasion fleet is massive and made up of more than 10,000 ships. Screening their approach to the planet were several refugee ships containing New Republic civilians. They would be used to shield the Yuuzhan Vong ships from the New Republic defenders. New Republic Supreme Commander Ownasaber refuses to fire upon these ships, and that causes confusion amongst the New Republic ranks, and eventually it doesn't really matter because these refugee ships slam right into Coruscant's planetary shield. Soon gaps emerge in the planetary shield, and the Yuuzhan Vong fleet, along with the flaming wreckage of refugee ships, began crashing down all across the planet. The next wave of Yuuzhan Vong ships arrive, and dropships begin landing on the planet, pouring out tens of thousands of Yuuzhan Vong warriors. Chief of State Boris Phalia, who was responsible for the New Republic's failed defense up until this point in the war, sought to redeem himself by detonating a massive proton bomb as the Yuuzhan Vong forces approached his office. His sacrifice ends up killing Yuuzhan Vong leader Ram Zakar along with 25,000 of his warriors. But as we've mentioned in previous videos, Coruscant is incredibly difficult to take over in an invasion. That's because it costs a lot of manpower and resources to actually defeat the defenses there, and even if you do win, it'll come at great cost and you'll probably leave the planet in ruins. But unfortunately for both the New Republic and the Yuuzhan Vong, War Master Savang La was a fanatic and willing to do just that to win. The Yuuzhan Vong would suffer a Pyrrhic victory. Over a third of the Yuuzhan Vong warrior caste would be destroyed in this invasion, and out of the 3 waves that were sent to take out the planetary shield, only 1 wave makes it past. The Yuuzhan Vong now had a massive amount of territory to hold on to and a very tenacious insurgency that was developing deep within the Coruscant underworld. The New Republic would disband shortly after this battle, and they would reform into a much leaner and meaner fighting machine. The New Republic military that still remained would join forces with the Imperial Remnant, the Hapes Consortium, and the Chiss Ascendancy. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 5 major battles that have taken place on Coruscant. As you can see, it's basically impossible to hold on to this planet for the long term unless you are the Yuuzhan Vong and willing to just send massive amounts of people to their death until you finally achieve your goal. And then again, you still have to terraform or rebuild the planet. So again, really not worth it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, and my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.